Hi, everybody. It's Peter Anderson again, here from the College of Theology, here on GCU's campus, with another little conversation with a colleague from Spiritual Life, where we've chosen a topic together to kind of think through, process in a way that we believe will benefit students and help you all explore some of the questions and things you're thinking about as a university student here on our campus. So my esteemed conversation partner here is Jenga Maina, who
Yes.
is the Global Outreach Manager here on campus. Very thankful for all the work you do to connect students with ministry opportunities and the work that they're probably very passionate to undertake as students here. So
Yeah.
maybe to get going on understanding some of the conversation we're having today,
Yeah.
I want to pick apart the idea a little bit of what it means to live missionally. So help me understand what that means. So what does it mean to live missionally? And maybe take one more step.
Yeah.
Why does it matter?
Awesome. Thank you. That's a great question. That's something we'll leave out within global outreach. For us, we understand, we are following God's heart for the world and for His people and creation, everything. And so God is already at work. And so as God's people, we are following what He's already doing in our world. We live in a broken world, and so as missionally minded people, we're trying to respond to God's work of restoring our world and creation. So that could mean working with a refugee family that had just moved to the U.S. and they don't know what to do, where to start, and helping them as they navigate life in a new culture. It also means going across the world and sharing the gospel. Matthew 28, that's something we want to see our students doing, going to the nations and declaring the good news to people who need to hear the good news. It's also Micah 6:8, responding to that, like, what does the Lord require of us? And so that's how I approach being a missional child of God. Yeah.
So maybe unpack, why does it matter to students? So what's the significance to the life of a university student maybe as they're unpacking all the things you described, whether it's working locally with a family that's relocated to the Valley, maybe going internationally, or even just figuring out, I am a child of God. There's this thing, I'm following God's voice and I need to live on mission with Him. Why should it matter to university students in particular?
It matters because this is God's heartbeat. It matters because people need to know the truth. I think as believers, we know that the good news is what will change our world. And knowing that there are people who've never heard the gospel, I think that should matter for us as college students or as faculty, as staff. Even within our vicinity here at GCU, where we have people from so many parts of the world. And some of these places is places where, Christians are persecuted. People have never heard Jesus, and God cares about those people.
Absolutely.
It cares because God cares about our world. The poor, God wants to see the poor being taken care of. And so it's really important for our students to see that they can do something about it. Out of the abundance of what God has done in our lives, we get to be a blessing to other people.
Awesome.
We get to live out what God told Abraham, that He would be a blessing to the nations. That cannot happen if we don't join God in what He's doing in our world today.
That's awesome. Great. Thank you. That's super helpful. You've really laid out some ways that students can begin to really wrestle with what this is and its significance in their lives. I'm sure there is some misunderstanding around it. So that's kind of the next step here. So we've talked about what it is, why it's important. Debunk some of the myths or misunderstandings with me. Maybe they're funny, maybe they're just annoying. I don't know how you feel about them. But debunk some of the myths and misunderstandings around missional living.
Missional living, I think sometimes students think they have to go across the ocean.
The big stuff, right?
The big stuff, you're like, you hear mission, you're like, I gotta travel to Afghanistan or to this country. But that's not true, especially in our world today where we have people from all over the world. So you can live mission here. Uh, Actually, on a day-to-day life, God wants you to be a replica of His kingdom, represent His kingdom to people. So it could be your neighbor, it could be your suite mate here on
Yeah,
campus.
that's right. Yeah.
It could be somebody seated in your class. Like we can live out the principles we see in the Bible without traveling overseas. And then I think some people think this is a dangerous thing that we have to do, or it costs so much. Honestly, it doesn't cost much to live out what God wants us to do. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars to be a blessing to somebody. It can be just a little thing as having lunch with somebody, having a conversation, listening to them through the difficulties in their life and being a support to them. And then some people think being missionary is you're serving every day. You're going to the homeless shelter. You're going somewhere else to do something else.
24/7.
24/7.
Rise and grind, missional living. Yeah.
That's not it. But it's a lifestyle, but it doesn't really mean that you're serving like. That can be done, but it's not like, oh man, I'm such a busy student. I'm an engineering student. I can't be missional because all I see is all these other students that are going to ministry every day of the week. It doesn't have to be every day of the week, but it's something that you are excited about and you want to do it and live it out.
That's great. Well, then that brings us to kind of our last question here.
Yes.
What are somebody's watching this video, they feel maybe some of the myths that you've debunked, that some of the barriers are coming down in their mind. What are some practical steps forward they could take? Practical advice. What practical advice do you give students right now who want to take a few steps toward missional living?
Yeah, I like, back in the day, this pastor talked about the idea of shape, and how God wants to use people. I tell students what a shape acronym is spiritual gifts. What are gifts that God has given you that you can use for His kingdom? And then what are heart, H is for heart, passion. What are you passionate about? And you get to live your passion and also be missional, so you don't have to be a theology major to live our missional life. You can be a business major and you use the passion that God has given you to serve. And then the other one is abilities. What are things you give? Maybe you can run. Maybe you can play soccer. We have soccer ministries here at GCU, and you can be part of that. And then your personality, your experiences, that's the other, part of the word shape. So I tell students, really sit down and see what are things God has given you that you can use and start there. Maybe it's a spiritual gift of praying. Pray for people. Maybe it's experiences you've had in the past. Maybe in high school you used to play soccer. You can't play soccer anymore. Come to one of our local ministries and go play soccer with refugee kids. And start there. Start small and see what God will do with that.
That's awesome. Very, very practical steps, and that's easy to remember. Shape. I like it. Well, thanks, Jenga. Thanks for your time. It's been a great conversation. As always, in all these topics I've been having, these conversations I've been having with spiritual life, there's more to be said here. But thank you for sharing a bit of the conversation here with me. It's been great to share some time with you. Any students that are watching this video, if anything in this video has maybe prompted you to think more about this topic, or you want to meet with someone to talk to someone about this kind of thing, we have a great opportunity coming around the corner for Ministry Week, October 7th through 11th. There's going to be a link for you to sign up for an appointment with a faculty member who may be able to spend some time with you, depending on their availability, to talk through this issue or several other topics that you could select from in order to begin to explore what God's doing in your life, how you maybe feel called to live more missionally, and how you can begin to do that today. Thanks, Jenga.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.